How do we further the missional effectiveness of congregations? Are the things that we are doing contributing to that? Are the meetings that we have, the way in which we're structured, the way in which we're staffed, the way in which we set our priorities and our budgets, are they in fact furthering the missional effectiveness of the congregations? And so part of what we want to do is reintroduce you to a couple of concepts in the next couple of minutes and have you give you a sneak preview of what will be revealed to you on February 7th at the Refresh and Renew event when we'll unveil the whole design. We believe that we serve the missional effectiveness of our congregation through, and here's some of those big words that we've talked about before, through ensuring fiduciary trust, through encouraging strategic initiatives, through cultivating generative creativity. Remember those three terms? Fiduciary, strategic, generative. Let me take you back through a diagram that I've used before. This is from Chait's book on governance as leadership. Basically, it says this: for missional fruitfulness, for there to be a sense of effectiveness, every governing body, which we are, needs to be responsible for all three sides of the triangle. Fiduciary is all about keeping trust. Are we keeping our trust? Are we fulfilling our requirements? Are we not only paying our bills and abiding by the law, but are we keeping our theology? Are we keeping our vows? Are we keeping our covenants? A huge part of what the presbytery must do are those requirements. Some of the most poignant moments, the most difficult but important moments that we do are when we take on our fiduciary responsibilities, when we interview a candidate for ordination or for acceptance into our presbytery, when we debate and discuss amendments or theological issues that are in our midst, when we consider what it means to be faithful, when we pass budgets, when we make decisions, when we function as the governing body. The second responsibility of the presbytery is that we must be strategic. If we're going to be an effective governing body, we must also ask questions that are raised like by Tom's presentation. What do we need to do to fulfill our mission today? Not for Reed Memorial Church in 1940, not for Hollywood Presbyterian that led me to faith during the 1980s when I was being brought in as a candidate and minister, not in San Clemente Presbyterian Church of 2005. What are we doing to fulfill our mission today? What is the best strategy? What do we need to do to be effective? One of the parts that the Odyssey Group wants to put right in the middle of our corporate conversation is the notion of effectiveness, fruitfulness. Not with some exterior grid where someone sits over us and judges us, but through us talking together and agreeing together that what it means to be an effective, fruitful congregation and how we're going to help take responsibility for all of us to become as effective and fruitful as we possibly can. But there's a third part that is often overlooked. If you'll give me the next slide, it's the generative. This is when we pause, we get on the balcony, as they say. We look to the future and we say, how do we need to change? When we drive through our neighborhoods and look at the way in which the neighborhoods are changing, when we consider different techniques or different opportunities that are available to us, when we consider a world where a church in Long Beach and a rock band in Rochester can work together in collaboration in ways that we never would have thought of. What emerging challenges are before us? What shift of perspective do we need to make? How do we need to learn and change to be more effective? A governing body, if it's going to be an effective missional entity, must do all three. It is not enough to simply be fiduciary. It is not enough to seek to throw out all the fiduciary responsibilities and be effective. And it's certainly not enough just to sit around and talk about the future and miss what we're supposed to do today. We must do all three. And the question we keep asking ourselves is, what's the best structure for doing all three? What would this look like in our presbytery?